that this is something officially declared. This is not we have declared. This is officially declared in the COP26, Glasgow COP26. But I have asked many people, they don't know even what is the climate emergency. That is the failure of our system. That is the failure of our government. They even don't think that they should be informed, all the people, because they knew it. And based on the scientific evidence, they had declared it that we are going through climate emergency. Can you believe that the mockery they are doing? They had mentioned it on the book, but they are not informing us that we are going through this sort of situation, what we have seen in the life after day after tomorrow movie that might come to us, that might be a situation in near future. That is why this is the climate emergency. And that is why we are a very small organization. We have only few members. We have decided we will now start working and we'll now start going here and there with our whatever the knowledge we have achieved. Because this is very easily, everyone can get this knowledge and information from the open sources, but nobody caring it, nobody bothering it. Our talking point is something else, then this is the very dire situation. This is not our talking point. Our talking point is Hollywood movie, Bollywood movie, this, that, filthy politics, this and that, and this social media, that blogging, those blogging, and this sort of matter. But we are not caring about, we are not thinking about this, what might happen to our future. And these kids, they will blame us. They will put us into the dock, and they will hold us responsible for the situation they might face in near future. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a few members here. We'll show some very brief demonstration about how climate is changing. Thereafter, we have an expert here, came all the way from Leicester University, Parvez Harris. He is a professor in life science and biodiversity. He came all the way from Leicester, and today was a London Marathon going, and that is why he came by public transport, and he need to leave. Basically, he got a time schedule to back to his university. Thank you very much, Mr. Parvez, for your time and for your dedication. And we'll obviously very soon he will enlighten us by his research and other stuff, and his remark will be come very soon. Beforehand, just I'll start few from our perspective what we have need to show you. That is first slide. Okay. We mentioned the global warming as an existential threat. I don't think we need to discuss this very much. If it is happening, it is happening. This will be an existential threat for our human civilization. I'm not telling everyone will die, but vast majority of our population might face such a consequence that can be termed as an existential threat. Secondly, I'm just highlighting some global warming. This is a very primary knowledge. I think everyone knows it very well. What is the global warming? How it is emerging? This is carbon dioxide. This carbon dioxide coming from the fossil fuel, and it is creating the density of the carbon level in our surface level, which causing when the sun ray came, it absorbing the sun ray, and it is causing warm weather. And this is the causal effect that causing the global warming, and consequential effect is coming like whatever we have seen in our movie that might happen, that might change our total weather system, and there will be, you might know that Arctic, that ice level are melting, and that might cause the sea level rise, and that will inundate vast amount of land, including Bangladesh. 1/3 of Bangladesh might go underwater if this is happened, and this is happening, and that might be a very big challenge for our country. And this is not something we have. Our country is the victim of this situation, and this is the collateral damage for collateral damage we are facing for the industrial revolution. Second slide, I'm just giving that source of greenhouse gases. This is something very primitive way. I'm just telling that there are various sources: industry, transportation, electricity, agriculture, forest, building, and others. So why we are blaming the fossil fuel? Fossil fuel means energy system. If you look in this pie chart, you will find that almost 71% related to the energy system. And that energy system means coal, gas, and petroleum. These three are the main culprits. So if we can replace the coal, gas, and energy-based electricity system, then we can replace all the things, and gradually this fossil fuel emission, if we can stop, then gradually this whatever the trajectory we are facing now, we are seeing now, that might reverse, but it will not reverse overnight. It will take many, many years, maybe 100 years, but we need to start from somewhere. Second one is source of energy. So this electricity or this energy system basically presently based on fossil fuel, mostly 21% gas, 27% coal, and 33% oil. We need to replace this energy system, and we need a clean energy system. We'll discuss what is the clean energy system very soon, and we need to achieve the net zero. And this would come very soon, and I'll request my one of the core member, Kaji Kalpana, to discuss what is the net zero and what is the alternative energy system very briefly. Kaji Kalpana.
Thank you, Iqbal Bhai, for your nice information, and thanks to our valuable and respected guests and kids to attend today our very important this meeting, because we need to awareness, no? If we don't take this, if we don't start this, so the global world will be wanting, it will be finished. So now is the time. We have to make our global, how can we say, our next generation, how can they will live with us? Viewers, please wait a minute. Sorry, please, is a question.
লাগানো শেষ না, এটা আমার, এটা কার ছিল? না না, এটা কে লাগাবে? ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা,
Sorry, viewers, I came back again. So we have, my turn is for the introduce about the net zero. So we have to know about what is the net zero. Net zero is reaching net zero for clean energy requires a combination of reducing greenhouse gas emissions and removing existing ones from the atmosphere. So we have to look at the clean energy for unlocking net zero. What is said? It is said reaching net zero emissions means removing an equal amount of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as we release into it. And then we have to know how can we reach net zero. So we need to know about the net zero. How can we about to reach there? We can do this by shifting away from the use of fossil-based energy and instead utilizing clean energy, such as solar power energy, wind power energy, biomass, nuclear energy, hydrogen, tidal energy, geothermal energy, and many more. And we have a lot of net zero, but this is the timing, so we can't discuss a lot of things at the short time. And we can do this by investing into this clean energy in structures such as electric grids instead of fossil fuel-based energy. So, viewers and our respected guests, we need to aware about our situation and need to know our next generation very carefully and attentively. Now I am calling our next members of the Advocate Jafar. He will discuss about the global warming, impaction, society, economy. He will introduce this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Katikolpana. Thank you very much, everyone. We can see on the book slide that global warming impact on social economy. Let me just explain a little bit of, although Said Iqbal already did explain, but lots of kids here. And I would like to take the opportunity to explain in simplest term what is global warming is. So global warming is the Earth temperature level raising, and this is what the surface changing its weather and impacting on many cases. Let me just tell another terminology along with global warming, which is climate change. Don't mix each other with the same. Climate change is something for a longer period of time, what impact happening to the Earth's surface. So what is happening in the global warming and what is the impact would be on the social economy. So just to make you a little bit clear what is social economy, it's the economic part of the place where social interaction is more involved, where we can take part and obviously we can make changes what global warming impact would be on the Earth. So if you look at what is happening, the global warming impacts will be by 2050, 23 trillion US dollar will be wiped out from our world's economy. What does it mean? It's a scary amount of figure we can see. It's called the Swiss Re, the reinsurance company. They have done a report and they have found by 2050, 11 to 14% of world GDP will be dropped. This is because of the global warming and its impact. How that would be? That is due to protect the disaster relief, interference damage, and healthcare expenses. So if we do not wake up now, this is why I like the slogan that Swiss Re use, which is no action is not an option. So there is nothing we should stop, wait and see. There is no option like this. We must have to take action. And this Oxford and Cambridge University, they have done a research. Obviously, what they found, if we do act properly, if we do avoid using the carbon and all these materials that hampering the global warming is significant, we can save 12 trillion by 2050 if we do act accordingly. But this is why Swiss Re clearly came out with a very suitable slogan: no action is not an option. So if we look at the livelihood and the displacement that is happening all over the world, we are the witness. But obviously, if we look at the global temperature increase, at this moment, UN shows 783 million people are facing hunger today. And if world temperature rise only 2 degrees, that would be an additional 189 million people into hunger. And guess, if raise 4%, that will be 1.8 billion people in the world will suffer from hunger. So it is time for us to wake up and see what is the best option for us. And there is no option. We must have to take action to save the world. There's lots we can say about health and productivity, infrastructure and security and migration and adaptation. So migration is one of the part. I would like to see one of our core member, Tareen, going to explain it to us, and I'll let it go and see Tareen is giving us. Tareen.
Macam ada ni.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to start off with thanking you. And it's very heartening to see so many of you attending this event. Today, we have organized this event to demonstrate how hugely the global warming and climate problems are going to be very destructive, and how it's going to be impactful on people's life, even though that impact is not going to be a very good impact. Well, we have been talking about so many different topics today. So I'm going to be talking about climate refugees. And I'd like to start with demonstrating a little bit about what climate refugee is actually. Well, as a human rights activist with the British Red Cross, and from my experience working closely with the refugees, I can vouch for the devastation they face. The concept was first articulated in 1985 by program UNEP and Essam El Hinawi, a UN environment expert. He defined climate refugees, also called environmental refugees, or climate or migrants, as people who have had to leave their habitats temporarily or permanently because of a potential environmental hazard or disruption in their life supporting ecosystem. But the extent of the definition still causes some confusion. For instance, when 2 Category 4 hurricanes hit Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador in November 2020, people poured across the border into Mexico and headed towards the US. As torrential rains and landslides meant they lost their homes, livelihood, and access to clean water. There are a few bullet points I'd love to share with you to demonstrate this topic a little bit more vividly. For example, an annual average of 21.5 million people were forcibly displaced each year by weather-related events such as floods, storms, wildfires, and droughts between 2008 and 2016. And that's a huge number if we compare with the time. It's just in 8 years of time, how many millions of people had to be forcibly displaced. And as many of us here, we came or we belong to a third world country as well as United Kingdom, we can really relate to the problems our siblings, probably our fellow mates, our friends, or the relatives we left behind, they are going to be faced within next few years. This means acknowledging that extreme weather and shifts in climate patterns do not just pose an immediate threat to people and its infrastructure, they are also a longer-term danger and can slowly destabilize societies and economies. Countries, third world countries like Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and many other countries. Take, for instance, sea level rise by up to 2100. Up to 410 million people will be living in areas less than 2 meters above sea level and at risk from sea level rises. Domino effect was felt in Syria, where the desertification of formerly fertile farming land between 2006 and 2010 meant crop yields plummeted. 800,000 people lost their income, and 85% of the country's livestock died. And that means which can lead to more starvation. One way to tackle climate migration is to create economic opportunity in societies threatened by environmental changes. There are not only one factor that led to the Syrian civil war, with the Arab Spring and strict restriction from the Syrian government playing a key role, but societal issues caused by a deteriorating climate work so exacerbate existing tensions. The result was a confliction that fueled the world's worst refugee crisis in decades, and around 6.6 million Syrians, roughly a quarter of the population, forced to flee their country. And I'd like to stop here a little bit to remember the people who are leaving their home countries, their parents, their families, and their friends, just to be happy and have a fulfilled life in countries like UK, European countries, USA, or first world countries. But imagine when that numbers is going to be increasing in billions, would we be able to accommodate them here, even if we love to? The answer probably would be no. So how can we help climate refugees? One way to tackle climate migration is to create economic opportunity in societies threatened by environmental changes. For example, in Bangladesh, floods caused by cyclones have increased the salinity of 53% of farmland. This means farmers are unable to grow their normal crops, which poses a deadly threat to communities who rely on agriculture to survive. As Zafar Bhai previously says, we have to take actions, and there is no time to take actions. We cannot let people to starve to death or to take decisions which will lead them to flee for lives. And finally, I'd love to invite all of you to take little steps towards those actions by being mindful of how we use energy and mindful of how energy and usage of energy can change and bring changes within the society and the community. Thank you very much for being here, and I'd love to invite my co-organizer, Shuprabha, here to say something more. Okay, so Mrs. Tamanna Saeed Iqbal will come here to demonstrate this topic a little bit more, and afterwards Shuprabha will come. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mike.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being very patient. So I'm not taking longer because I think as the time is running out. My part is greenhouse gas emissions crime against humanity. So I'm just trying to very shortly something for you. In 2029, estimated 8.3 million people died from air pollution due to use of fossil fuel. Use fossil fuel caused various diseases as asthma, pneumonia, bronchitis, upper respiratory and eye irritation, heart attack, heart disease, neurological deficit, cancer. Therefore, fossil fuel companies are responsible for such premature death. Those fossil fuel companies must be held accountable for such death and suffering. Those responsible should be held liable under the Rome Statute on Crime Against Humanity by International Criminal Court under Rome Statute. So I'm not telling any longer thing because as our other participants said so many things. So now I would like to call our next person, Shuprabha Siddiqui. She'll say some more thing about this. Please welcome.
এটা কোথায়? ঠিক আছে, ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ মাইক্রোফোন ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ আমার ভাবলাম আমার আমাকে এটা দিয়ে দেন, দাঁড়ান দাঁড়ান দাঁড়ান।
Good evening to my lovely evergreen audience, and thank you for being so patient that you have been waiting and waiting to listen us. Today, I'm here to talk why we need to be the part of the green. Take a deep breath. last week, I read an article. I believe you might be thinking that why I'm referring to that article, why that is so important or so terrifying or terrified that still I can remember. Yes. I read an article, and the article refers to me that the being part of the green energy is a right, is not the privilege. Do you know that 47% people in the UK, they do not have the very clear access to the green energy? They need to walk 15 minutes from their home to reach a green energy resource. Do you think this is very frequent time to access and green energy center or green energy place? Not at all. What should we do then? How can we create some initiative to reallocate the green spaces or to save the planet? How can we do that? Well, we can simply create some initiative. First of all, I will request you all to create a wildlife meadow. Have you heard about that? A wildlife meadow. Wildflower meadow, is very easy to create. Just visit your back garden tomorrow morning, okay? And find a spare patch of area where you can sow some, the beautiful flowers, wildlife flowers. Do you know that one single meadow can save more than 100 species? Can you imagine? But this beautiful wildlife meadow can save us, can save the green energy, and can save the planet. Secondly, stop will and start working. Here you go. This is the point where we are. If we 5.2 million of the short trips we made to drop off and to pick up our children from school. Do you know that? 5.2 million trips we made every year to drop off and to pick up our children from school. And if we cut down these, you know what will happen? If we cut down these trips, then 1.6 million petrol we can save in a year. 1.6 million of petrol can be saved in a year if we cut down these trips. And finally, it will save 2,500 of carbon dioxide in every year. 2,500 of carbon dioxide can be saved every year. Take a moment to think about it. Together, we can save this planet. Together, every little steps can help us. And this is the beginning. Can you promise with me today that you will lock your car in the garage only once in a week or even in the fortnightly? Can you? Thank you so much. I have seen someone's hand. And last not the least, rather than using the powered loom, the hand loom products can also save the green planet. Just imagine and take a look, the Jamdani Shari from Bangladesh. And I'm seeing one of the beautiful lady who is sitting in front of me. She is also wearing the muslin, which is also the heritage of Bangladesh. And look at me, I'm also presenting Tatha State Shari, which is from Bangladesh as well. Rather than using the powered loom, I am reinforcing the hand loom sari so that we can promote our heritage, we can promote the planet, greener planet, and safer environment. Hence, I would like to remind the powerful quote of Groucho Marx. I believe you all knew that. Yesterday is dead. Tomorrow has not arrived yet. And I only have today to live. And I want to live it happily. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your patience. And thank you for listening me so patiently. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. We have finished our part. Now, expert view. Ladies and gentlemen, you know that one professor came all the way from Leicester. May I request Mr. Professor Dr. Parvez Harris, PhD, Professor of Biomedical Science, Faculty of Health and Life Science, De Montfort University, Leicester. My friend Parvez Harris will give his expert view in this matter.
Thank you very much indeed, Syed Iqbal. Thank you for organizing this event. And it's a pleasure for me to be here. And I can see most of the audience are Bangladeshi. So my presentation is actually going to be about Bangladesh. So I hope you will enjoy it. And I will try my best to cover some of the things that I have been doing over the years. So the title of my presentation, as you can see, is a subject that most Bangladeshis should be aware about, which is the arsenic crisis. Arsenic crisis has been sort of forgotten to some extent in the last few years, but the problem of arsenic in Bangladesh has not disappeared. It's a constant problem, it's a constant struggle, and yet very little effort and very little work is being done to address this problem. And actually the climate change issue is going to make the arsenic crisis even worse. So whatever problem we've heard of in the past is not going to get better in some respects, it's going to get worse unless we tackle the problem and prevent some of the climate change related issues that are happening in Bangladesh, because Bangladesh is one of the most climate vulnerable countries in the world. Its location of Bangladesh is also interesting, of course. It's a low-lying delta, and there was a research done by one organization based on a theory of a German geographer. The theory is called central place theory. And according to this central place theory, the ideal place for building a city or a capital city of the world, the ideal place, this is not based on some Bangladeshi doing some research, but based on some scientific principles, the best place to build a city is actually Dhaka. This is actually research that has been done. And the reason for that is location of Dhaka is that it's next to a river. So there is good possibility of transport of goods and materials and humans. And it's also surrounded by very naturally rich places in terms of crops, in terms of minerals and so on. So it's an ideal location. But sadly, because of human activity and the way the human beings, we damage our environment, Bangladesh is now the most unlivable cities in the world. Ideally, it should be the best place in the world, but it is not because of human activity and the way we have damaged our environment. So if you see one of the professor from Harvard University and WHO, the World Health Organization, said that the largest mass poisoning of a population in history actually happened in Bangladesh, and the arsenic crisis is the reason for this. So in this slide, what I want to show you is, you can see on the left-hand side in this slide, someone's hand, someone's palm. You can see there is lesions that are related to consumption of water contaminated with arsenic. Arsenic is a toxin. It's a carcinogenic substance. And unfortunately, arsenic has been in water in Bangladesh for some years. Since 1970, Bangladeshi people have been drinking arsenic-contaminated water for some time. For over 20 years, they've been drinking the water without knowing that there is arsenic in the water. So I want to give you some historical context so that you understand how this problem arose. This is also a man-made problem. This did not need to happen. So if you look here, the World Health Organization, as I said, stated that the arsenic contamination of drinking water in Bangladesh is the largest mass poisoning of a population in history. Millions of people are affected. And the reason behind that, in the 1970s, UNICEF, United Nations, saw the problem that there was a lot of diarrhea amongst the children. So the people are drinking. I'm from Bangladesh. I was there in 1970. I remember when in my village, we used to drink the water from the pukur. Pukur or pani khaitam amra. When, do you understand? We used to pukur. So when you used to, yeah, okay, sorry. When you used to drink the water from the pukur, that was the water that I grew up with. And in 1970, when the tube well was installed, actually I did not like the water. My grandmother did not like the water because of the taste, because of the smell and so on. So it was in the 1970s we saw a transition. People are not drinking the pukur water, the pond water, they were drinking now the recently installed shallow tube well. And what happened was that this was suggested by the United Nations that we should replace the drinking water from pukur to the tube wells. But what they did not do was to actually analyze the tube well water. United Nations, UNICEF, such a big organization, recommended that we should switch our drinking water. But when you ask a population to drink the water, it is important that the quality of the water is tested, the presence of toxins, whether it's bacteria, whether it is heavy metals, toxic elements, arsenic, cadmium, mercury, lead, are these present or not, needed to be analyzed, but unfortunately that was not done. So as a context, what will happen is the arsenic crisis, and you can see from this diagram, map of Bangladesh, the red indicates areas of Bangladesh with very high concentration of arsenic. So you can see southern Bangladesh has lots of arsenic in the tube well. And this is the map of Bangladesh showing which areas are most affected. So drinking arsenic contaminated water has an impact on health. Lots of diseases, cancer, skin lesion, neurological diseases, cardiovascular diseases, and so on are associated with drinking contaminated, arsenic-contaminated water at a high concentration, because the amount of arsenic in Bangladeshi groundwater is very high. And that means it is going to have an impact on the body, especially over a long period of time. So next slide, please. No, the previous one. Yes. I want to show you this slide. This is from The Independent. See, if you do not do the science properly, if the science is not sound, it is not comprehensive, then you can make mistakes. Science is not an activity that is free from human error. It's not free from mistakes and so on. And a mistake did happen. And as you can see, this is a headline, not from a Bangladeshi newspaper. It is a headline from The Independent from the UK. What does it say? It says how the West poisoned Bangladesh. Why are they saying this? This is because it was the Western countries who suggested to the Bangladesh government in 1970, at that time it was Pakistan, that time they were told that you had to replace the drinking water source from pond water, surface water, to groundwater. But what they did not do was the science that needed to be done. The science was to analyze the water to see if it is fit for human consumption or not, if it poses any risks or not, and that was not done. And hence we are with a problem that continues to this day. Next slide, please. I have this slide, I produced this slide to show how we have come from the frying pan into the fire. The reason why they suggested people to drink groundwater was because the surface water on the left-hand side was contaminated with bacteria, pathogens. Because of human activity, feces and so on will enter the water, animal waste will enter the water, and therefore the children will die from diarrhea and cholera and so on. So it is a biological pathogen that was in the water that they were worried about. So UNICEF said, let's not use the surface water. Let's use, so this is the surface water here people used to use. Instead, they're telling the people to use the tube well. But of course, the water was not tested. So we have one pathogen, which is a bacteria like cholera, replaced with a chemical substance, a metalloid called arsenic. So we move from one toxin to another toxin. And this was done because proper research and thinking and scientific inquiry, scientific investigations were not done. I cannot imagine in this country anyone will be drinking water from people will be told to drink this water, that water, without assessing the quality of the water. Is it fit for human consumption or not? Has it got any risks or not? If these things were done here, then the same principle should have been applied for Pakistan or Bangladesh or India. Sadly, it was not. So there is a mistake that led to this arsenic crisis, unfortunately. Next slide. So a good intention, the point I want to say is the good intention with a bad approach often leads to a poor result. Thomas Edison. So UNICEF had a good intention. Their intention was to reduce the prevalence of cholera in Bangladesh. But because the work was not done properly, we ended up with an arsenic crisis, which continues to this day. Next slide, please. So you can see there is an issue now. Climate change means there is flooding, especially the coastal regions of Bangladesh. And then there is also parts of Bangladesh which becomes very dry. So the extremes of conditions of drought and extremes of flooding and so on, both of these creates a condition for arsenic to be released into the groundwater. There is chemistry here. I don't want to go into the chemistry, details of the chemistry, but it is related to the oxygen exposure. It is related to the effect of salt from the salt water. All of these things makes arsenic more available in the water, which means that when the people draw the water from the tube wells, they will have more arsenic in there. So this change in the environment is leading to an increase in amount of arsenic in the water, and this is going to become more of a problem with climate change. There is always a cause and effect relationship. As much as with human health, if you have a poor diet, we Bangladeshis have the highest prevalence of diabetes in the UK, and partly this is because of our fault. We eat a lot of rice and we are very inactive. It's cause and effect. We have a poor diet, we have therefore a higher prevalence of certain diseases. Likewise, for the environment and the world, there is going to be a cause and effect. If you don't take care of the water, if you do not take care of the air, if you do not take care of the soil, then whatever we are going to produce are going to be affected by that. And therefore, Bangladesh is one of those countries which unfortunately is the most affected, and the climate change and the global warming and all of these things are going to make things worse. Next slide, please. So one of the things I have been doing some research, and my team, is that we've looked at water hyacinth. In Bengali, we call kochuri pena, something we all know, something we've all seen. It is the fastest growing aquatic plant in the world. It's an amazing plant, actually. And the flower of this plant is amazing, and it's really beautiful. And one of the reasons why this plant traveled the world was because during the colonial period, the British actually brought water hyacinth into India as an ornamental plant because it was so beautiful. And this beautiful plant grows very fast. I've done a diagram here to show that in 1 to 2 weeks, it multiplies, increases, doubles its population. So you can see here on the left, and you can see on the right. In 1 week, it grows very fast and doubles in population. So it's a fast growing, amazing plant actually. Not only it has beautiful flower, but it's also very rapid in multiplying and growing in numbers. So it's becoming now an interesting plant for various reasons, because it can be something that can be used to produce biofuels instead of, so green energy, it can have a role in producing green energy, and it's very efficient photosynthesis. So that means it grows very quickly. And it can also, I will show you that it can also be very effective in removing harmful chemicals from water. I remember in my pukur in Bangladesh, in my bari, Amar bari, I remember that when there was water hyacinth in the pond, those areas where the water hyacinth was present, the water was more pristine, more clear. It was cooler because it, sort of like the sunlight was not hitting directly on the water and so on. So I experienced myself the benefits of the water hyacinth, but it also has a problematic issue because it is an invasive plant. It multiplies in number, clogs up the rivers and the lakes and canals, and causes a lot of difficulty for fishermen, for boats and navigation and so on. So it's not without problem. The reason why it's a problem is because we do not manage the water hyacinth. If this was a crop, everyone will go and cultivate it and put it into good use. But because it's considered like a weed, we do not do much with it. But in Bangladesh, actually, politicians have said good things about water hyacinth. In the past government, I remember some of the politicians says that people should look into water hyacinth's potential for various uses and so on. And I hope the future government of Bangladesh will try and make use of the water hyacinth. The current government as well will make water hyacinth a valuable resource rather than something that people just have to get rid of. So the next slide, please. So these are things I've taken from various other countries. Water hyacinth is a problem around the world, in Africa, in countries like Kenya, in countries like Uganda, Zambia, all of these countries, including Egypt, they have to spend millions and millions of pounds to actually get rid of the water hyacinth. But this weed is now becoming increasingly interesting as a resource. People are now trying to produce biofuels from it. And in my own lab, we have done research to show that it can actually be very good in removing toxins from water. Next slide, please. So this is our role. What are we trying to do? It is the fastest growing aquatic plant, so it's available in large quantities. It's available in Bangladesh. It's considered as a green plague because it just grows and grows and covers all the water bodies. And 50 million tons of water hyacinth is removed from the White Nile in Africa every year. So a lot of money is spent on it. Billions of dollars are spent on it. But what we have done is through our research, we've shown actually you can use this plant to remove arsenic and other toxic metals from water. We've done that with materials in the lab, and we've done some work in a river in Wales. In Wales, I have a PhD student who did the work. So actually at the field level, we've shown that actually it can purify or clean and remove some harmful chemicals that are present in rivers that are polluted with heavy metals. So we have demonstrated in the lab and in the field that it has potential. Next slide, please. So this is some research. Those who are of chemistry background, you can see what we've shown here is that up to around 90%, if you look at removal, if you look on the left-hand side, up to 90% of the arsenic is removed from the water when you put some dried roots, dried powder. So what we did is we dried the roots of the water hyacinth plant because it is a very long root. We dried it, we made a powder like a resin. We placed it in the water, which is contaminated with arsenic, and we found that within a few minutes, most of the arsenic is removed. So natural material, a plant material, can be very effective in purifying water. Next slide. And we try to produce a prototype filter. My PhD student and a postdoc have been doing some work on trying to produce a filter based around water hyacinth, and it seems to be working. But of course, ultimately, it needs to be tested on the ground and the field level. These are work I've done in the UK. Okay, so these are UK-based research. Ultimately, the validity of the methodology can only be proven through the real-world activity of doing the work in an affected area, which is like Bangladesh or India and so on. Next slide. So this came in the newspaper in the BBC. That was some years ago when I was much younger. Okay, so this is me just showing the thing how the weed can clean water supplies. So this was some time ago, but we are still working on it because a concept and lab demonstration is one thing, and the real world validity is something else. And I did not get an opportunity to really do the work in Bangladesh as yet to see if it is able to remove arsenic from real tubewell water in Bangladesh. Next slide. So you can see water hyacinth, we've shown that it is good. It can remove heavy metals. It can also remove microplastics. You know, we have got microplastics are everywhere. Now the next issue is microplastics. These small plastics that remain in the water, we can't see it with our eyes, but it's there. And water hyacinth can actually remove them. Next slide. This is an interesting thing about Bangladesh. In Bangladesh, which is flooded with water, so this means there is less land for cultivating crops and vegetables and so on. And one of the unique things about Bangladesh is these floating gardens. This is especially in the southern parts of Bangladesh, and you can see it's very effective. These farmers in Bangladesh are floating their crops to adapt to climate change. They're floating them actually on bags made from water hyacinth plant. So you can see the water hyacinth plant, because it's abundant, grows very fast. Actually, this ability of this plant to grow fast must mean that there must be imaginative uses that we can make of it. And this is what people in Bangladesh are doing. This is nothing new. It's been there for some years. And this is a very good thing because people can actually grow crops even though the whole area is flooded with water and so on. So this is how people are adapting. People are producing handicrafts. It's creating jobs in Bangladesh. So this is good again. Next, conclusions. So arsenic pollution of water is a major problem around the world. Climate change is likely to increase arsenic in drinking water and foods because the rice is growing in flooded fields. The flooded fields are contaminated with arsenic. Therefore, the arsenic is going to be taken up by the rice, is going to enter the rice grain. And as a matter of fact, my research, our research have shown the Bangladeshis have the highest exposure to arsenic in the UK because of our higher rice consumption, because rice has more arsenic than any other crop, mainly because it grows in this flooded environment, a lot of water. If you look at a wheat field, very dry, rice field, flooded water, so that means arsenic can enter the rice grain, and human being will then ultimately get exposed to it. So method needs to be developed to provide water that is safe to drink. However, one of the key messages I want to give here is that we must implement methods carefully to avoid creating new problems as happened with arsenic crisis in Bangladesh. Sometimes we do not do the research properly. We do not consider all the issues deeply. Our science sometimes can be flawed or incomplete, and the result can be quite deadly. The arsenic crisis actually in Bangladesh was a man-made one. It's been forgotten, but the mistakes and the lessons from it should be taken and should be learned so that we don't repeat the mistakes of that has been made in the past. We've shown that arsenic, water hyacinth plant is effective for removal of arsenic and other toxic elements from water. Because this is a plant-based material, it is biodegradable. It can be used, the material that comes out of it from these resins and so on can ultimately be used for creating biofuels and so on. So it's actually a sustainable, inexpensive, locally available material for addressing the water pollution. But more research needs to be done. I cannot say the research I've done can be implemented and I can say, oh, you can use this water hyacinth and then you can drink the water and you'll be okay. I can't say that. The science has to be done, the research has to be done, and high quality work needs to be done before we can recommend things for humans to do. And I think presentation today that I made is for all us to remember that we have to question the science. The science, has it been done rigorously? Has the latest methodology been used? Has all the different factors been considered or not? And science can sometimes be influenced. Science sometimes can have interests and conflict of interest can be there. So you have to be alert about any scientific advances. Is it genuine or not? Just nowadays, we know about fake news. Same, science can also become victims to fake science and vested interest science and so on. So being alert and being cautious and being questioning things is, I think, a very critical factor. But I'm really glad, I come from Leicester. I'm very happy I'm here because I'm talking with people who are very much interested in climate and so on. And I'm thankful to the organizers for organizing this event. I perhaps have taken longer than I needed to, but I'm thanking you again for your time and patience and listening to me. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will now, from our organization platform, we're very small. He came all the way from Leicester, but may I request another scientist, Muhammad Abdul Rakib. He is a physicist and came here to give our gift to. We have a very small gift, our bag and so on and so forth. One of our sponsor and patron, he always advised me to do right thing.
I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, this is something. Yeah, this is something. We are giving this. Maybe some error there. There is a cap as well. You may use it when you are in the field trip, when you are going for field study.
Thank you.
He used to go field study under ocean and so on and so forth. Another T-shirt might use it when you feel very warm.
Thanks very much indeed. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Thanks.
Is there a logo for him as well like this?
Oh yeah, he was given by
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Actually, I wanted to ask you a question. I came a bit late, sorry, because we had a film to watch.
Yeah.
The question is,
Yes.
we don't see any water hyacinth in this country, do we?
It's a very good question. Thank you very much for your nice question. You said you're not a scientist, but you asked a very...
I'll ask you questions from there.
Yeah, you said you're not a scientist, but you asked a very scientific question. You see, in my presentation, I did say that my PhD student, he did some work in a river in Wales. Okay, so he did some work in a river in Wales. Water hyacinth plant are available in garden centers, but it has been banned in the UK recently. When my PhD student was doing his research, it wasn't banned, but the European Union banned it because it's an invasive plant. This means it can spread and completely cover all the water bodies. But the UK is different from the rest of Europe. It's not Spain, it's not Portugal. So the British Gardeners Association, horticulturalists, protested about that, saying that our circumstance is different. Because in this country, you have never seen water hyacinth. You are right. Because even if there were some that went and grew during the summertime, they will die out during the winter. They won't survive. So my PhD student, when he did his work in Swansea, he did the experiment during the summertime. He grew the water hyacinth plant and he placed them in like a cage so that they don't spread out and so on. He got the permission from the Environment Agency to do the work. But now you cannot find water hyacinth in the garden centers because of the European Union legislation.
The British took it to the third world countries, left it there.
Yeah, it is a nice plant actually. Water hyacinth is beautiful in terms of the flowers are really beautiful. They took it from South America. South America is the original place where water hyacinth grew. They took it to America. So if you go to Florida, if you go to California, they have a problem with water hyacinth. So they took it to Africa. They took it to Asia. So they spread across the world through the lack of knowledge and biosafety issues of that time. Now there is so much rules. You cannot bring even meat or honey or other things from other countries into the UK because of potential viruses, foot and mouth virus and this and that. Those days, people just move things from place to place, not realizing that they might be spreading something.
You have got a very better route. Take the biofuel plus, it can purify the arsenic.
That's right.
I think I did not understand.
Yes.
When you are drawing water by a tube well from deep inside, how can you use anything?
Okay, so there are two types of, I think the shallow tube well have high arsenic. So the cheap ones, the ones that you can easily put in, they're less expensive to put in, but they are shallow and there is more arsenic in that water. But if you have deep tube well, then there is less arsenic. So one of the solutions is to install deep tube wells. Deep tube wells are very expensive.
But I think we can use the water hyacinth.
Okay, filter.
Filter.
Yes, so this water hyacinth is a biologically based biodegradable material that could be potentially used after proper research. Because there is a point I have to say. Let's say, for example, when I remove the arsenic, but what happens if something else gets leached into the water from the water hyacinth through this exchange chemistry? And then you might create another problem. Therefore, proper thorough research must be done before you can actually tell people, oh, the water is safe to drink. UNICEF had good intentions, but they did not test the water in the tube wells before telling the people, just go and drink the water from there. They saved the people from diarrhea and cholera, but they damaged the people through exposure to arsenic, and the people are suffering in Bangladesh to this day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to Mr. Parvez, Professor Parvez, and we are now going to have a small cultural event. Our children will perform climate-based something, and then they will perform to chorus, and then few adult performer will perform accordingly. May I request now Arena Siddhi Suprabhat to conduct this performance. Only 2-3 minutes you need to give us.
Assalamu alaikum everyone. এখন আমরা পুরোদস্তুর বাংলায় কথা বলবো। এতক্ষণ আমরা ইংরেজিতে কথা বলেছি। অনেক জরুরি অনেক ইম্পর্টেন্ট ইনফরমেশন আমরা পেয়েছি আমাদের রিসার্চারদের কাছে থেকে। আমার মনে হয় আমাদের কিছু অডিয়েন্স প্রফেসর পারভেজ এত চমৎকার ডিসকাশন দিয়েছেন, যেটা আমি নিজেও খুব এনজয় করছিলাম সামনের সারিতে বসে। এবং আপনারা যেই অংশটুকু মিস করেছেন, আমি সেই অংশটার একটু রিক্যাপ আপনাদেরকে দিতে চাইবো। আমি স্পেশালি রাকিব ভাই এবং রিপা আপার কথা বলছি, আমি মোস্তাফিজ ভাই ওনাদের কথা বলছি। তো যারা আপনারা মিস করেছেন, আমরা যে বিষয়গুলো নিয়ে আলাপ করছিলাম আজকে, তো আমার সেকশনটা ছিল বি পার্ট অফ দ্য গ্রিন, এবং আমি আমার সেকশনে একটা বিষয় খুব ক্লিয়ার করে বলেছিলাম যে আমরা কিভাবে বি পার্ট অফ দ্য গ্রিন হতে পারি। সবচেয়ে ইম্পর্টেন্টলি, মোস্ট ইম্পর্টেন্টলি যেটা আমরা করতে পারি, যে আমরা ওয়ান্স ইন এ উইক কারের হুইল স্টপ করতে পারি। And I made them agree that they will do that for me. So that was one of the most amazing thing. And another thing I have mentioned earlier, which was that we can wear the heritage rather than using the power loom. We can wear the handloom product, the one I'm wearing at the moment, Katha stitch sari, so that we can be our own ambassador. Okay, and also we can stop using power loom product. So those have been discussed earlier. Now, as you can see, that our little chimes have arrived here already, and everyone has been waiting so patiently to listen their performance, which they have been, managing and organizing throughout the week. So let's not take more time, okay? I would like to invite Kaji Kalpana Appa on the stage to perform with our beautiful little chimes. May I please call Kaji Kalpana Appa on the stage, please? And with